Whew, what a day this Saturday here. We were down on Granville Street in Georgia in Vancouver BC there, and we met up with the BC Evangelism Network that was put on this by this one guy named Zach, and he's got quite a little crew down there, and so there was at least 10 of us, and it was kind of neat because I spoke at a church last week on evangelism and things like that as their guest speaker, and a few members from their church ended up coming downtown Vancouver, and I was able to sort of encourage them to witness, and we had a plethora of conversations, and goodness, we were there for a solid 3 hours. And so one of the fellas, you never would have known that he was a reborn Christian, but he was a homeless guy, and he just lost his mother last month, and so he was grieving pretty hard there, but we were able to encourage him to get plugged into a church so that he's not a sitting duck for the enemy, so to speak, right? And knew a lot about the Bible, and was so very soft-spoken guy, but it was good hearing his testimony there. Another guy that we ended up speaking to, his thing was, why would God even create us? Which is a very good question, but I proposed another question to him. Well, why would God even allow us to be made right with him, right? And so we got to share the gospel with him, but he was hung up on Buddhism. There was also a couple, these two Muslim fellas. While talking to them, one of them just started praying, and then this lady that I was with, witnessing with, she ended up praying as well. So it was almost like this spiritual combat warfare going on of two prayers at once. There was another fella that claimed to be a Christian, but it was all, be a good person kind of thing. So we talked briefly about that. Another guy just blatantly kind of came out and said that he loved his sin and he didn't want to give it up. It was sort of the gist of that. Another fella, an elderly man, he was hung up on how can Jesus be the Son of Man and then also the Son of God. And so I tried to explain, Jesus' deity, and then also the fact that he was human in the flesh. That's the whole point of the title of Son of Man, just that, okay, he was also in the flesh, and he wasn't having it. It just kept on going in a few circles and things like that. And then anyways, also just a few of my highlights. Oh, and there was this one guy from Guatemala that didn't speak very much English, and so what I ended up doing actually was went to 4laws.com, which goes over the 4 spiritual laws, gospel message there, and they got a bunch of different languages and things like that. And so I just brought that up and let him view it over my phone, and then he gave me his WhatsApp phone number, and so I ended up sending it to him that well. But he was holding to Catholicism there, and a works-based type salvation. And so there's ways to even get around that with when you come into contact with someone where there's a language barrier. There are resources out there. And so it was just a neat day down there, and there was tons of other testimonies from other people. But I'm also here with Brother Jules, and you got any highlights to share?
Yeah, I had this very interesting conversation with 2 younger guys who's visiting the city. So one of them was he's born in a Christian family, but he doesn't go to church anymore just because his family is kind of falling apart. So that's the one thing that's stopping him from going back to the church. So I kind of reminded him that it's not about human failures, because as humans we fail, right? Anyway, he was pretty happy about being reminded that. The other guy is he's a non-believer, so he had a lot of questions about Christianity, and he had this point that all religions are the same. You just have to mind your own business and let other people mind their own business, and then just be nice to people, and you should be saved and you go to heaven and not be sent to hell. So apparently he's a believer of God. He believes that God exists, but yeah, I had this opportunity to share the gospel to him, and just let Jesus be known to him. So at the end, he's like, I asked him, so what's stopping you from from believing in Jesus, and he was like, well, nothing really anymore. So I was like, well, that's good. So now maybe we can pray for you about your salvation. Unfortunately, he was in a rush and they had to go, so he just left. But I was able to hand him a copy of the book of John, hoping that he would read that. And yeah, his friend promised that they're gonna try to get involved to the church once they're back to the island where they came from, where they were visiting from. So yeah, a lot of interesting things happening. It's a nice set of people, just evangelizing, very encouraging to watch them and to learn how they share their faith and how they share the gospel. Yeah.
Awesome. And then right at the end too, we kind of got tested by this one fella who had a I Love Jesus hat, and boy oh boy, I really don't even know if this fella is a child of God, because there was a lot of quarreling that he was trying to do with a lot of people in the group. And so it was just a huge contrast, because superficially, the first guy that I mentioned, the homeless fella, you would have thought, oh, this guy, just on the surface, like, oh, he probably needs, Jesus, so on and so forth. Meanwhile, it seemed like the guy knew more about the Bible than I did, and he was certainly a reborn brother in Christ. And then this other guy with all the Jesus clothing, the hat and everything like that, I love Jesus all over him. The guy couldn't have been farther out in left field than anything else. And so it's just kind of a nice reminder that, you never really know on the surface, which is why, with the what is your story theme, actually hearing people's, stories, right, to figure out where they actually are at spiritually. So don't let the clothing fool you. God bless you.